Oh boy, okay. Massive news. A big shock that has been sent throughout the Chelsea fan base and the footballing world. Um, this is very impromptu, so I haven't really got much prepared for this. So apologise for that. I will do my routine checks as always. Um, Hang on. Yep, that's good. That's good. Excellent. Cool. Let's pop out the chat. There we go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this, how I feel about this decision, um, how this has kind of come about, potential replacements, that type of thing. Um, the thing which I want to say first about this is I am literally in the middle of writing a script for a video. I was about 25% into writing a script for a video on whether I think we should keep Pochettino or not next season. That was literally what I was I said to you on stream the other day. I said I had two video ideas. One of them is finished and it's coming out tomorrow, at 7 p.m. hopefully, and the other one was that video on Poch, that which I can't now do because this has happened. So that's fun. So I guess I'll talk about that a little bit here. Let's quickly move to. I think this is the right. I think this is the right thing. There we go. Cool. Look, I've got the background music. So here's the statement, just in case you guys have missed it, I will read it out. So it says, club statement, Mauricio Pochettino, and this was like 24 minutes ago, but I'm a little bit late to this. As I said, I was in the middle of, literally in the middle of scripting when this happened, so that's great. It says, Chelsea FC can confirm that the club and Mauricio Pochettino have mutually agreed to part ways. This is an interesting thing to say, because this implies to me that there was a disagreement between Pochettino and the board, and this wasn't a one-way thing. Because I feel like they would have just said that he's been let go, he's been fired, he's been sacked, whatever. But it's the fact that they've been mutually have agreed. I assume that and obviously we had rumours that Poch was unhappy with the idea of not being involved in transfers and things like that. But there's also him. He probably has had a fallout with the owners since a while ago, because he's been doing a lot of talking in his press conferences, and I don't think that this was ever going to be an amicable break if it were to happen. So despite what this says here, it says sporting directors Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winstanley said, on behalf of everyone at Chelsea, we would like to express our gratitude to Mauricio for his service this season. He will be welcome back to Stamford Bridge anytime, and we wish him all the very best in his future coaching career. That's a load of bollocks. That's a complete load of bollocks. This is a complete load of bollocks. But there we go. Mauricio Pochettino said, thank you to the Chelsea ownership group and sporting directors for the opportunity to be part of this football club's history. The club is now well positioned to keep moving forward in the Premier League and Europe in the years to come. Jesus Perez, Miguel Diostino, Tony Jimenez and Sebastiano Pochettino have left the club with Mauricio. Oh, that's interesting. So all of his coaching staff are gone as well. The club will be making no further comment until such time as a new head coach is appointed. That is a bombshell. A really, really big bombshell, if I'm being honest. I'm not really sure. I'm really not sure where we go from here. So I will we've been given some options. I'm just going to rattle them off here if I can find them again. God damn it, Matt Law tweeted something, and I know he's not the most reliable. But the four options supposedly that we could be getting next are Sebastian Hoeneß from Stuttgart. We've got Michel from Girona. We've got Kieran McKenna from Ipswich Town, who just got promoted, and Leicester City's Enzo Maresca, who I have done a little bit of tactical piece on Maresca before. If I was to choose anyone out of these four, I feel like Enzo would suit our team more. And that's a good point. Crimson Wolf points out that if they say they want to get a young manager in, and I think this is a silly... I'm going to say it right now. I think this is a silly decision, if I'm being honest. I know I've been quite vocally Poch out for the majority of the season, or the majority of the last 6 months, let's say that. I think this is a silly decision because of the timing. If we were going to sack him, we should have sacked him months ago. be able to start that search and get a clear idea of what we want to do and go forward with. And then next season, we could obviously have the appointed manager, have him already met the players, have the idea of what he needs to do, what players he needs, and that type of thing before we proceed into the next season. This is so late that it's a bit of a worry to me, because not only has Pochettino obviously had the backing of the players, I think that's the main thing. The players obviously really like him, and I think it's the first year in probably about half a decade where we've had, other than Tuchel, let's say, it's like it's the first time that we haven't had that issue where the players are trying to force the manager out, and it seems like it just seems, like I said, it seems a weird thing, and there must be some kind of disagreement between the board and Pochettino for this to happen. I don't think they've done this based on results, which I feel is a bit silly. I do want to say, obviously, we've had this purple patch at the end of the season that has improved things and has gotten us into Europe, but I don't want to excuse the rest of the season, and I don't want to immediately say, oh, this is a terrible decision, which is why I've classed it as silly. I think it's a bit silly, a bit wacky. I'm not going to say it's a good or bad decision, personally, because too long don't read. My video was basically going to end on me saying, I am fine whether Poch comes or goes, really. That was going to be my final assessment, is that if he stays, fine, the players seem to like him. He's gotten us into Europe. He seems to have got some tactical ideas now. And even though it was a struggle for us to win against Bournemouth, we still won the game, and that's the most important thing. But then again, I wouldn't be dismissed if he was to be let go, because we've seen the signs that he can't do things right at times. And yes, perhaps he's been hampered by injury. Yes, perhaps he's been hampered by our players being a little bit inconsistent at times, but I feel like we have seen the warning signs, and I'm perfectly okay with this happening only if the manager that we brought in was an elite coach, because they are now saying that they want us to push. I think I've seen reports, they're saying that the kind of objective that they're expecting for next season is to get us at least into the top 4 and secure Europe, secure Champions League football. That is what they're aiming for, and I think that we're only going to get that despite our players. This group of players is a really good group of players, and now that they've had a whole season to kind of gel together and digest and settle into this team, I feel like next season we're going to really see the best of some of them, which is saying something considering how good Cole Palmer was this season. I think he's going to explode next season. But I think we need to get an absolute elite level coach in, and there's one that's available right now, and let's see how you guys react to this. Thomas Tuchel. How do we feel about him coming back? Because to be honest, he's the only coach that I would have had back if we weren't getting like Simone and Inzaghi. They're like the only two that I would have actually brought in terms of like, oh, we need to bring in a coach, let's get an elite level coach in. The 4 names I rattled off do not inspire me with much confidence. As I said, the only one that I would kind of be okay with bringing in is, it's really funny, it's actually the 2 championship coaches that I would look at, not only because they're already settled into English football, but because they kind of, especially Leicester, they kind of are. Let's be real, Leicester were a Premier League team in the Championship, and that's why they cakewalked it so easily for the majority of the season. I think Enzo did a really good job with them, and as I said, I think that his tactical setup does suit this team. I don't know much about Kieran McKenna, if I'm going to be honest, but the one thing I do know about him is that he's obviously getting the best out of Amari Hutchinson, who reportedly is going to be staying at Chelsea this season and not going back on loan. So maybe we get that, maybe we get Hutchinson on the right-hand side for us with Palmer in the middle, or vice versa. They can both play either way. We have so many left-footed talents that can play basically as a winger or a 10. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. Ipswich has a left-back with like 20 assists. It wouldn't be like wouldn't be like us to have that same kind of thing going on when we had obviously Martson, who was basically Burnley's best player, and then we took him off them, and then they turned into absolute dog shite. As I said, I'm not really sure where we go from here. Obviously, I'll try and keep you guys up to date with my thoughts and stuff on this scenario as we get more information. I know that, as I said, I know they're looking for a young coach, and I just feel like that's a silly decision to go for a young coach and not experience. Because if you want us to progress and get higher than we were, this season, then you need to get a coach that's better than Pochettino. And though I have had my gripes with Pochettino for the majority of the season, there's no denying that he is an experienced coach that can get himself, or get teams into decent positions in the league. I've seen a lot of people talking about De Zerbi. Obviously, De Zerbi has now left Brighton. We obviously have one of the options that I spoke about earlier in the season, Arne Slot, has now gone to Liverpool, so he's not an option anymore. Obviously, this is not happening, but David Moyes is leaving West Ham. I swear to God, if stay away. I'm begging you, owners, Blueco, stay away. Obviously, yeah, Motta is going to Juve. I think he would have been a really good appointment, honestly. It's gonna be. It's the owners really need to get this one right. They have gone 0 for 4 on managerial appointments so far. We need to get this one right, and we need to get a coach that is going to play football that suits our team. And in my opinion, I think if we are to play good football and get into the elite level of the Premier League, and in obviously qualifying for Champions League and things like that, we need to build a team around Enzo, and we need to have a team that is going to be structured around technical play rather than effort, because I think that's the main part, and that's the main thing that's kind of been a staple of this Poch team this season, is that a lot of the time we haven't won games because we've been technically better. We've just outworked a lot of our teams, and obviously I think that's probably, let's talk about big elephant in the room, whether Chalobah and Gallagher are leaving. I think possibly the board might have said to Pochettino, I'm sorry mate, but Gallagher's gone. And I think that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back, because we know how much he likes Gallagher and how important he is to the team that he likes to play. And I feel like obviously they've been pushing for this sale for ages, and there's been rumours today that Tottenham are looking to do a double sweep for both of those two. I think selling him would be silly, but if we're going to get the right price for him, I understand it. It's pure profit because he's a academy player. If we're to sell Chalobah, I'm going to be really, really upset, because I think he's the best centre back in our club at the moment now that Silva is gone. But yeah, it's a big shock, and it depends on. I said it really depends on who we bring in, and I'm not sure. Again, as I said, we're not sure what's going to happen at the moment. As I said, from those 4, if those are the 4 that we are looking at, I think we are in the mud. I think we're really, really in the mud, because none of those really inspire me very much confidence. I've just now seen a report from Jacob Steinberg that says Thomas Frank and Vincent Kompany are options as well. If we somehow sign Vincent Kompany, I will probably dive bomb out my window. Thomas Frank's an interesting one. No, but that's an interesting one. I'm trying to think if there's any other coaches that are a bit out of the realm of like, oh, maybe that could be an appointment. I can't think of any. The only thing that I can think of is buying a coach or like paying the release clause for a coach that is already in the league, like someone like Eddie Howe or something like that. That's the only thing I can think of. But it also matters to me that we get a coach that's going to take our young players seriously, because I think obviously our team is very, very young, and I think that's the one thing I'll always kind of be glad about Poch being our manager for, is the fact that he did give chances to those young players like Carney Chukwuemeka, like Cole Palmer, like obviously Alfie Gilchrist coming in. He didn't really give a chance to Martson, but that's a different thing. He's obviously been giving appearances for Cassidy in recent times, and Ukachukwu in recent times. Obviously has a lot of faith in Caicedo in the middle. I saw some freak on Reddit wanting Will still. That's funny. You know what? Glasner is actually a really, really good shout, but I just don't think it would happen. It's one of those things where it would 100% not happen because he's doing so well at Palace, and I think that he suits their team so well. And he somehow turned Jean-Philippe Mateta into an absolute beast out of nowhere. As I said, if someone's just joined and just asked me this, if it was up to me and it was like, hey, you need to pick any manager that is currently available right now, who would you pick? I would 100% instantly say Thomas Tuchel. He would be who I bring back, because he is a winner. And though he didn't have the greatest time at Bayern, and they've kind of gone like, no, we don't want you anymore. And ironically, they kind of went back and said, hey, we want you, and he said, no, you didn't want me earlier. Screw you, I'm leaving. That's funny. I think that he would be the one I'd go for, but obviously with the criteria that the owners seem to be looking for, he's just not an option. I'm furiously refreshing my feed to see if there's any more news. I've just seen apparently Malang Sarr has liked a post on someone's Instagram about Poch leaving, so maybe he was a player that didn't really want him. But yeah, supposedly it says all the news that I'm getting is just saying that pretty much that they are 100% expecting UCL football and competing for trophies next year. So in my mind, it's a good thing, because I want the owners to be ambitious. I want the owners to not settle for mediocrity, and I think that the majority of this season we have been really, really mediocre. And despite us getting into a European spot late on, I think part of the reason why we were able to do that was just because the other teams above us were so terrible this season. Like, I don't think you can count on your like top, like your top, like those kind of like from like fifth to eighth, those teams, you can't count on them to be dropping as many points as, say, Newcastle, West Ham and United did this. It's the three United clubs, isn't it? West Ham, Newcastle and Manchester United. They all just were really, really inconsistent in that final 5 games, and we just shot up the league. Can we get Thiago to work as a manager out of Brazil? No, there's no chance of Klopp, because Klopp has said that Klopp has basically said that he's taking a break. He's not actually going to be doing football, like any coaching now. I think he'll probably do is do what my brain's completely gone. He'll take like a year or maybe 2 years break, think of his ideas, and then come back to football. And he'll probably manage some like big German team. The only other there's Nagelsmann is another option, but again, he's now with the Germany setup, and I don't know if they would even consider that. It's scary to me, because I don't really have much faith in our sporting directors to pick the right person, because, as I said, they've gone 0 for 4. They obviously sacked Tuchel, which was a silly mistake. They hired Graham Potter, who was a silly mistake. They brought in obviously Mauricio Pochettino, which has turned out to be a mistake in truth. He's gotten us better, but the thing which I've mentioned this before, and I think the thing which I think we need to kind of give context to is that, yes, Mauricio Pochettino has brought us up 6 places from last year, but with the fact that we have invested £1 billion into the team, we've gotten a superstar like Cole Palmer in the team has basically deadlifted this team. I saw a crazy stat today which basically said that without Cole Palmer's goal contributions this season, we would be 18th in the league, which is mental, absolutely mental. Yeah, I would like Thiago Motta. I think he's a good coach. He's not going to come here. That wouldn't. It's not going to happen. He's probably going to. I would imagine he's going to end up at Juve, because they do that. They like doing that over there in Italy. They like kind of switching the managers around between teams. I've just seen actually from one of my mutuals has put an official Chelsea manager shortlist as of right now. So we've got Hunas, we've got McKenna, we've got Michel, we've got Thomas Frank, Roberto De Zerbi, who I haven't spoken about a lot. I will kind of touch on that in a second. Obviously Ruben Amorim is another shout. Maresca, Kompany, Flick and Tuchel. Hansi Flick would be alright. I wouldn't complain too much about Hansi Flick, honestly. We're getting a lot of like reports coming out, and apparently the players were expecting Pochettino to stay, so this might have been genuinely a last minute decision. I know they had the meeting. Some people on my timeline are calling for us to get Andoni Iraola. Genuinely, I think he is a really good coach with a pretty bang average team, so maybe, but again, he's not that elite level coach that I'm looking for. But obviously the issue is that the board and I have two different ideas on what we actually want, what we actually want as a coach, and you guys probably have different ideas as well. Yeah, that release clause in Amorim is a bit of a thing. The thing is, we've spent a lot of money on coaches and staff in recent times. I don't think the board would want to spend even more money on coaches and staff. I think we, like, how much money did we spend from, like, just raiding Brighton of all of their staff, man? Like, my second favourite, excluding Tuchel, God, it pains me to say it, but just because he's got experience in the league, I'd probably say Roberto De Zerbi. And the thing which I kind of want to touch on is obviously De Zerbi has had a very, very bad showing in the last like section of the season. I think that his ideas and his philosophy, the way that he plays football, suits our team, because it's very similar to how Poch has been trying to set this team up in the last 5 weeks, with that ability to break through a press and then create opportunities after beating that press. And obviously we've seen what he can do. He got Brighton up to about, I think he got Brighton up to 6th, didn't he? If I recall, I can't remember. He got them up very high with when they had Caicedo. Obviously now they've got much lesser players in the team, and they've had a lot of injuries this season as well. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where our owners seem conflicted between like what they actually want us to be. Do they want us to be a project which takes time and we have to invest in our youth and kind of invest in a coach, or do they want to be our old owners and fire managers that aren't winning us trophies and hire a manager that will win us trophies? It seems, considering how the objectives they're putting out about us getting Champions League football, that it seems like they are focused on getting us trophies and pushing for actual silverware, which admittedly for me is obviously a good thing. I don't want them to be settling for just a project, in my opinion. But obviously with the yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I feel like they need to pick something and stick to it, like, because they need to put their foot down and say, like, hey, we're going to be setting up this project, we're going to be starting it with Pochettino, and then we'll see where we go. And I know a lot of people, and I've kind of said this in the past as well, I feel like what kind of happened, and I feel like Pochettino was never going to be the coach that took us from A to C. I feel like he was always going to be the coach that took us from A to B, and then we were going to get another coach that would bring us from B to C. And I think that's what we've kind of now seen, is that Pochettino has settled the players. He's gotten this group of young players playing together, being able to link up with each other, able to actually score goals now, which is good. We actually scored a lot of goals. We scored over how many? I think this season, including all competitions, I think we scored over 100 goals, which is a far cry from what we did last season. Obviously, our defence this season has been utterly woeful, but obviously we're bringing in a set-piece coach from Brentford, which is lovely. I'm glad we're getting that, because hopefully we'll stop conceding every single time we have a corner. Or that the ad just hit you like Lamptey on Madrid. You're a funny guy, you know. But yeah, that's completely thrown me off what I was saying. That's really funny. Yeah, now that we've got this like group of players kind of settled, I feel like if we do get a coach that has better ideas and can actually coach a team to be defensively solid and offensively solid, then we'll see the fruits of Poch's Poch has ran Poch has walked so we can run, in a way, is what I feel like they're kind of trying to do here. And obviously they are saying that this is a mutually agreed decision, and as I said, if that is true, usually this is just a cover-up of saying we don't want the coach anymore, so he's decided, hey, we're just going to terminate your contract rather than anything else. If that is the case and it is a mutually agreed thing, then perhaps Poch has just decided, like, you know what, my work here is done, I can't bring you any further. Poch, that's a good shout. I genuinely believe the same thing. I think Poch will go to United now. I think that is probably what's going to happen if Tuchel doesn't go there. God forbid if Tuchel goes there, I'll be very, very sad. I said, for now, I think this whole situation happening with Pochettino being sacked, I think is a very big indicator that Connor is leaving. I think that I think that is what this is. I think that would be the pivotal thing that Poch would be saying. Like, he said he wanted more involvement in transfers, and obviously there's been rumours that he wants Ugarte and things like that. And a lot of the admittedly, that is one thing which I am kind of happy with the owners to kind of stamp their foot down and say, hey, no, leave the recruitment up to us. We know what we're doing. You just do the coaching, right? I kind of understand the way they're coming from, because a lot of our players that we've been hitting in recent times are really, really good, young, promising players. Ugarte has been dog shit this season, let's be real. A lot of the options that Pochettino has been, well, it's been reported that Pochettino wanted, have been completely arse. Do you remember back in pre-season when I made that video on Gabri Veiga? Do you remember him? Because that was a player that Poch apparently wanted, then he went to Saudi Arabia and has disappeared. They've I don't even know what's happened with him. Obviously he didn't want Ian Martson, which is a very big red flag considering how good he is. And maybe that's a benefit of Pochettino going. Maybe Ian Martson stays now, because Dortmund don't look like they want to pay the release clause for him. We'd have a midfield of Gallagher, Veiga and Ugarte. That would have been horrific. We'd have horrific. Yeah, I mean, we kind of have to just see what happens. So I'm reading things that Fab has been reporting. Apparently it says, and this is a quote here, it says, Chelsea's idea is to appoint a young, talented manager to create their own Xabi Alonso project. And I thought that's what they were doing with Pochettino, and it didn't work out, so here we go. I do worry about the players, because we've seen it happen before where players that are settled into this group and they're settled with this manager, and then the manager has left, and they might become a bit despondent and kind of be like, oh well, especially certain players, which obviously Pochettino has had his favourites this season. We can't lie. It has Fabregas written all over it. That is so true. But obviously he's doing work at Como at the moment, right? So I don't think that would be an option. I said he has been. The thing which is interesting is that obviously we did see before Bournemouth that Fabregas was at Cobham. We saw that he was there, so maybe Maybe that's the thing. Maybe all of these names that have been thrown out at us with your Marescas and your Lawrence, your McKennas and things like that. Perhaps this is just smoke and mirrors to distract us from the real appointment that is Fabregas. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm trying to give us some kind of positive idea, because I had come to the kind of acceptance part of my 5 stages of grief, that we were going to continue with Pochettino next season, and I wanted to say, like, hey, give him a transfer window, see what he can do. If he improves us further from what we are, obviously we're in really good form at the moment, we're firing. If he can improve us further, then maybe we stick with him for longer. If we see warning signs early in the season, I think he would go immediately. Obviously that can't happen now, so we're gonna have to just see who they appoint. And man, it's just a bombshell, isn't it? I just said, like, so every time I refresh my page, we're getting linked with more managers that are absolute dog shit. Like, genuinely. Obviously Fab is now reporting that apparently Hunis from Stuttgart is highly rated, but is probably not going to come. People are joking about Bruno Saltor becoming our manager. God damn it. See, this is the thing which is interesting, right? Because someone's just asked about Amari, right? I think I said this before about him, that I would like him to what I would have liked for him to do is, obviously now that Ipswich have been promoted, is for us to send him on another loan to Ipswich, but so keep him in the same environment, but obviously he'll be playing in the Prem, and he'll gain that Prem experience without it affecting us as a club if he does flop, which I don't think he would do because he's a very good talent. But it's that risk versus reward thing of, like, hey, if he doesn't do well, cool, doesn't matter, you know, but if he does do well and he excels in the Premier League, then we can bring him into our team. The issue is, obviously, that's under McKenna, who has just got them promoted, and if he's obviously one of the options that we might bring into our team. If we bring him into our team, maybe he decides, you know what, I want to keep him. I want to keep Amari in the setup. But obviously the issue with Amari being in the setup is that he is in the exact place that Cole Palmer is playing. And let's be real, I love Amari Hutchinson. I think he's done really, really well. But if you give me the choice between Cole Palmer and Amari Hutchinson, I'm choosing Cole Palmer 10 times out of 10. Like, I'm and obviously they can play in the same team if Cole wants to play central. But the issue is, for us, is that our main problem and our main kind of problem area where we want to solve is at left wing. I think that's our hole. Our right side and our central side is great. Like, Noni Madueke hasn't been fantastic this season, but in patches he's been brilliant. And I think that obviously Cole can play off that side. We've got Angelo at Strasbourg who can play off that side. We've got, in more recent times, we're getting wonder kids that are going to be here in 2025 that are both off the right hand side as well. we have so many players that are right sided, or left footed players that are right sided. And you know what, David Datro Fofana left wing. The thing is, I think that what would actually genuinely happen, and I think the way that we fix that issue, for me personally, is to play Nicholas Jackson as our left winger, because he did play as a left winger for Villarreal, and we've seen from him that his best attributes are all in the part before he gets to the box. Despite him scoring 16 or so goals this season, he has been decent at finishing. We know that his final pass, his final product isn't the greatest, and yes, that may improve in time, but if we're to bring in a solid striker, if we're to bring in like your Gyökeres or your Osimhens or Benjamin Sesko or anyone like that who comes in, I feel like Jackson would just be played as a left winger. I don't think he'd play as a striker for us anymore, unless obviously one of them got injured. Flick would probably want Gallagher. Yeah, he probably would. No, knowing the way that his Bayern team played, he probably would. I said that's probably the main thing though, is that, and that's the thing which I worry about, and obviously we'll have to see, is whether Gallagher stays or goes. Oh, here we go. Here's some more stuff. Chelsea's co-owners did not like Mauricio Pochettino's criticism of how the club was run, and they could not move forward with someone questioning them in the long term. Oh. When I said a solid striker, I didn't mean good in quality. I meant more so like an actual striker, rather than, or like a centre forward, rather than what Jackson is, where Jackson is more of a left winger that plays up top. Yeah, we kind of yeah, that's not surprising. What I just said there, that's not surprising at all. I'm pretty sure that's we kind of knew that it's a situation where our owners are a bit what's the word? They're a bit stuck in their ways, a bit stubborn, and a bit afraid to be told that they're wrong, despite them making a lot of mistakes. I think they are admittedly learning, and I think some of our please never ever compare Mauricio Pochettino to CM Punk. Those two are so far apart in terms of people. I don't want Pochettino tarnishing that name. Please never say that. No, honestly, don't even joke about Southgate, because that would make me stop want to watch him my club. Genuinely, don't joke about that. That is horrific. We can't even get Chelsea players into the England setup. He would come over here, he'd stop playing all of our players. He'd be like, "Oh, you're old dog." Here's some fun news. Chelsea's two favourite candidates to replace Mauricio Pochettino are Roberto De Zerbi and Marco Silva. Southgate would play Mudryk at left wing back. To be honest, Thomas Tuchel would probably play Mudryk at left wing back as well, let's be real. These links are terrifying. Honestly, every single time I refresh my feed, we get another manager link that's just horrific. It's just horrific. Names linked reliably since statement: Kieran McKenna, Thomas Frank, Eddie Howe, Michel, Enzo Maresca, Sebastian Hunes. Those are the apparently the credible six at the moment. You know, loads of people are joking and saying, "You reckon Klopp wants to have a shindig in London?" But I don't think he will. That would be a crazy event if that would happen. It feels like a Twilight Zone episode, doesn't it? I was literally, as the news broke, I was writing my script about how I think that Pochettino should stay, and I think that I wouldn't mind either way, whether he went or stayed, but in my mind at the moment I was settled with him staying and just seeing what happens, kind of thing. And then this literally drops in the middle of me writing my script, and I literally, as soon as I saw it, I saw a notification come from my phone. It said Chelsea. It was a Twitter notification. It said Chelsea FC statement, and then ... Mauricio Pochettino, and I knew what was happening. I literally, as soon as I did that, I did Control A on my keyboard, clicked delete, and deleted my whole script. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I know he's been sacked. Would Amorim play a back three here? I think he would, and the thing is, like, our team is still has those remnants of that Thomas Tuchel team that can play as a three, and obviously we've seen with this new kind of hybrid 4-2-3-1, 3-2-5 system that Pochettino has been using in the last few weeks, that we can play with a three at the back system in a way. So maybe he plays that way. The only thing is, I feel like the thing which worries me about Amorim is the fact that his teams very notably completely ignore using the midfield, and I think that our team is set up to use our midfielders. I think that's the issue, and I think that's part of the reason why Pochettino kind of got it wrong for the majority of the season, is that he didn't play through the midfield. He completely ignored Caicedo's ability to turn out pressure. He completely ignored Enzo's ability to dictate play from deep, because he was playing him as a left forward for the majority of the season. And obviously Enzo didn't have very good form this season because he was injured for 8 months. Let's not forget that. Speaking of that, I will say, a little bit of a spoiler, or not spoiler, but a little bit of a preview for what's coming up in the next few weeks. Obviously, as I said yesterday, tomorrow rather, 7 p.m. Maybe earlier than 7 p.m. It depends. I'm not sure, but definitely tomorrow I'll be releasing one video. On the weekend, I'm probably going to be doing player ratings on the weekend, I'd imagine. So I'm going to give every single player that played a first team game for us this season, whether that's in pre-season or just throughout the season. I might ignore pre-season, honestly, because there's not too many in pre-season that actually played. a lot of our pre-season players just never played in the actual league. But I'm going to be doing player ratings for a video, and that will probably be out on Saturday or Sunday. I'd imagine Saturday or Sunday this week. And as I said, tomorrow will be a special video, a fun one. I think tomorrow's a fun one. This is the thing, is that this is a weird thing that I have. Maybe this is just me as a person. I always look forward to pre-season, and I don't know why. It's that thrill of. Maybe this is my ADHD flaring up and me liking new things and getting hyperfixated on new things very quickly. But I really enjoy the idea of having that reset and like the period of where we bring in transfers and having the news fly around about what players we can bring in, and then obviously pre-season and we get to see the new players play. Like, I have not felt joy. I've not really felt joy this entire season watching this team, but you know when I felt joy was when I got to saw Christopher Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson tearing it up in pre-season. I genuinely believe, and this is something which is ironic considering the video I'm making for tomorrow, I genuinely believed at the start of the season that we could get top 4 with how well we were playing, and I was like, wow, Poch is actually going to take us to the moon. I genuinely thought that at the time because I was so excited by our pre-season. But now that we've got this situation going on, obviously we've got 3 months until the season starts, so we've got a lot of time to bring in someone good and settle them into the team, bring in players that will suit their team and kind of refocus for the next season. Now that we know what we are as a club, and we are kind of Palmer FC at the moment, but now that we've kind of got that structure, and obviously now Pochettino has shown, and the one thing I will give credit to Pochettino for, is one thing I'll always be thankful for him for, is that he has shown the world and he's shown our owners that the issue is not our players, because our players can produce absolute wonderful performances. They can. Once we get a good coach who has really good ideas that suits this team, then it's over. It's over for them. It's over for them, honestly. I said this before, but like I genuinely believe if we had an elite level coach this season, we could have very easily gotten top 4. Like very, very easily. And it annoys me because we had that situation with Pochettino in the mid-season where he just decided to stop playing the way that we kind of knew that our team could play well in the 3-2-5. We saw it from pre-season. We knew that it could work. And he just decided not to do it until the last 5 weeks of the season. That's the problem. That is the problem. I don't think there is a top manager out there that we can get other than Tuchel. But obviously, then they want to hire a new, young, exciting manager, and I think part of the reason of this is that I think the ownership and the sporting directors and all that. I'm pretty sure that they read social media, right? They see our responses when things don't go well. They see our responses when things do go well. They see our reactions to things, and I think that they have picked up the idea that we have all said that Mauricio Pochettino's tactics have been really outdated this whole season, and I think they've taken that on board, and they're like, hey, we want to bring in a new manager that exemplifies the modern football game and exemplifies this new exciting era of Premier League football where everything is possession based and everything is played through the middle, and there's a lot of inverting of fullbacks and playing box midfields and all that. It's like these new modern tactics that Pochettino just didn't employ until the last 5 weeks of the season, and I think they're probably going to look for someone that can do that. Here's a report from the German Sky Sports channel that says Thomas Tuchel was actively waiting for Chelsea's decision on Mauricio Pochettino, and casual conversations have already taken place in the last few days. He can see himself returning to Stamford Bridge. as I said, I would take Tuchel back in a heartbeat. I think him getting sacked was the worst decision this ownership has made. As I said, that is from the German Sky Sports. How reliable Sky Sports is not very, but it is the German one, so maybe it's not horrific. I don't know. If there's any Germans in chat, tell me how good your Sky Sports is, because the one over here in England is absolute wank. But there we go. Thomas Frank has been discussed internally. Eddie Howe has been discussed internally. They're just looking for... People are suggesting Ten Hag. I would rip my eyes out I'd rather rip my eyes out than have Ten Hag at my club. My God, some of these links are just horrific. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna stream for much longer now. Here's another report. Several senior Chelsea players are very sad to see Pochettino go. Yep, we kind of expected that. But yeah, I think that well, I'll have to end the stream here. I don't want to drag on too much. As you can probably tell, I'm losing my voice, and I need to work on work on my video for tomorrow a little bit more, add the finishing touches to that. But yeah, I did want to I couldn't leave this unaddressed. I saw it pop up, and I was like, oh, I need to get my thoughts out on this. And wrapping this up, yeah, this is confirmed. This is 100% confirmed. Pochettino has been let go as Chelsea manager. Positive or negative? As I said, at the moment I can't really give a judgment, because it depends on who they bring in. I mean, like, for example, like sacking Pochettino, like it's a baseless thing, because I could sit here and say sacking Pochettino is a mistake, but if we were to then bring in Pep Guardiola, then I'd be like, oh, well, it's not a mistake then. Obviously, if we were to sack Pochettino and then bring in, I don't know, Steven Gerrard, I'd be like, this is a horrific mistake. Because I don't know who the successor of Pochettino is going to be, I can't really make an evaluation. My initial reaction to this news was negative. I will admit that. When I saw this come up, I was like, this is a silly idea. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad, but I think it's a bit ludicrous. And just, come on, man. Just one normal day of Chelsea Football Club, please. Just one normal day. One normal day, that's all I'm asking for. Bro, we can't go a week without some news. It's crazy. But yeah, I'll leave you guys to it. I'm not going to bore you too much. I don't actually have an outro, because this isn't set up as a Feeling Blue stream. But thanks for hanging out as ever. I'll keep you updated when more news comes out, obviously. And as I said, the video will be coming out tomorrow evening. Sometime, usually I'll upload at 7 PM, but it could be earlier than that. As I said, I'll keep you updated on the community tab. But yeah, cheers for hanging out. I guess we go again. And I get to do this live for the first time. I get to do this live for the first time, 'cause I never get to do it. Remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on, you Blues. See, I did it there. Woo.